Most evenings in Willow Creek felt slow and predictable, but that night carried a different kind of quiet. Aiden could feel it the moment he stepped outside, like the air was holding its breath. He told himself he was imagining it, yet something inside him stayed alert. He was 34 years old, steady and calm by nature, the kind of man who didn't look for trouble. He worked long days at the hardware store his father once owned, spent nights reading, and had dinner with his sister every Sunday. Nothing ever happened that threw his life off balance. But the moment he saw Claire standing on the sidewalk across the street, everything shifted. Her shoulders were hunched against the cool spring wind. Her hands were tucked into the pockets of her light jacket. She looked lost in a way he had never seen before. They weren't strangers. Claire lived 2 houses down, and for years their conversations had been short and polite. But there had always been something gentle about her, something that made Aiden slow down whenever she waved from her porch. Tonight, she didn't wave. She didn't even look up. Aiden hesitated before crossing the street, unsure if he should interrupt whatever she was dealing with. But something in her stillness pulled him forward. "Claire?" he asked softly. She lifted her head, and her eyes were red around the edges. Not from crying, he realized, but from holding herself together for too long. She gave a small, strained smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Aiden," she whispered, "sorry, I didn't mean to stand here like this. I just needed a moment." He nodded, giving her space. The streetlights cast a warm glow over them, and a few leaves skittered across the pavement. The neighborhood was quiet, almost unnervingly so. "Do you want to walk for a bit?" he offered. It felt like the right thing to say, even though he wasn't sure where the thought came from. Claire hesitated, then nodded. They started walking down the block, side by side, not touching, not rushing. Their steps fell into an easy rhythm. For a while, neither spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like the pause before a door opened. "Finally," Claire exhaled. "I had one of those days where everything goes wrong all at once," she said, "and I didn't want to go home yet. It felt too heavy." Aiden listened. He could hear the strain in her voice. He could see the tightness around her mouth that she tried to hide. "Anything you want to talk about?" he asked. She shook her head at first. Then, after a long moment, she murmured, "Maybe." They reached the small park at the end of the block. Aiden leaned against the back of a bench while Claire sat down slowly, as if her body needed the rest. The park was empty. Only the soft hum of distant cars and the rustle of branches filled the air. She looked down at her hands. "You ever get the feeling your life is changing, but you don't know why yet?" she asked. Aiden felt a surprising tug in his chest. "Maybe more often than I admit." Claire gave a faint laugh, the sound thin but real. "That makes 2 of us." For the next few minutes, she talked. Nothing dramatic, nothing dangerous, just the weight of her week. Stress at work, a family disagreement she hadn't expected, a sense of being stuck, unsure where life was leading her. Aiden listened without interrupting. He wasn't sure why her words hit him so deeply. Maybe because he had felt stuck too, in ways he never said aloud. By the time she finished, her shoulders had eased a little. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for being here." His heart tightened in a way he didn't expect. "You don't have to thank me. I'm glad you're not alone tonight." Her eyes held his with a soft, searching look. For a moment, the world felt very still. At the same time, an unfamiliar ache settled in Aiden's chest. He didn't know what it meant or why it felt so sudden. But he knew one thing. Something about this evening was shifting the ground beneath them. And as he stood there with Claire under the dim park lights, he sensed that whatever was coming would change more than just the night. Near the end of their quiet moment, Claire glanced at him with a small, warm expression. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Aiden opened his mouth to say something, but before he could speak, Claire's phone buzzed sharply. Her face went pale as she looked at the screen. She whispered, "Aiden, I think something's wrong." The wind picked up. The night deepened. And everything shifted again. The moment Claire's expression changed, Aiden felt the tension rise in the air. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her phone. Whatever she saw on that screen shook her deeper than anything she had just talked about. Aiden stepped closer, but didn't crowd her. "Claire," he said softly, "what happened?" She swallowed hard. "My brother," she whispered. "He sent a message, but it doesn't make sense." Aiden nodded for her to continue, keeping his voice steady. She held out the phone. The message was short, almost cryptic. It said he needed her right away and asked her to come home. It didn't explain anything else. "I don't like this," she murmured. "He never talks like this. Ever." Aiden felt the unease settle into his chest. "Let's go," he said gently. "I'll walk you home." Claire hesitated only for a second before nodding. "Thank you." They headed back down the quiet street. The wind pushed gently through the trees, brushing cool air across their faces. Aiden stayed close but didn't touch her, letting her set the pace. Halfway down the block, Claire slowed. She stared ahead at her house, a modest two-story place with a small porch and a single porch light glowing like a beacon in the dark. But something felt off. The front door was closed, but one of the living room lights flickered weakly. Aiden noticed it first. "Does your light usually do that?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, never." Aiden didn't say what he was thinking. He didn't want to worry her more. Claire's phone buzzed again as they approached her walkway. She froze before pulling it out. Another message from her brother. This one shorter than the last. "Just hurry." Her voice cracked. "He never sends messages like this. Something's wrong. I can feel it." Aiden placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We'll figure it out together." She took a breath, steadied herself, and walked toward the steps. Aiden followed close behind. When she pushed the door open, they both paused. The house wasn't in chaos. There was no sign of a struggle. Nothing was broken or disturbed. But it didn't feel normal. Aiden felt it instantly, a kind of heavy silence that didn't belong. The air inside seemed colder than outside. Claire called her brother's name as they walked inside. No answer. She moved toward the living room while Aiden checked the hallway. The lights continued flickering, creating long, shifting shadows on the walls. "Aiden?" Claire's voice carried a nervous edge. "Can you come here?" He returned to the living room. Claire stood near the coffee table, staring at something resting on it. A small envelope. Her name written on the front. She reached for it, but paused. Her hand hovered above it, shaking. Aiden stepped closer. "Do you want me to open it?" She shook her head. "I can do it. She drew a shaky breath. "I don't know what's inside." She opened it slowly. Inside was a folded note. She unfolded it with trembling fingers. Aiden watched her eyes move across the words. He saw the exact moment her breath caught in her throat. "What does it say?" he asked softly. She didn't answer right away. She lowered the note, her expression pale and stunned. "It says, she whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I need your help tonight. You'll understand everything when you see me. Please don't panic." Aiden frowned. "That's it?" She nodded. "It's his handwriting, but he doesn't say where he is. He doesn't explain anything." A heaviness settled between them. None of it felt right. Claire's eyes glistened with worry. "He wouldn't do this to me without a reason. Something must be happening, Aiden. Something he didn't want to say over text." Aiden studied the note again. There were no clues, no directions, just vague words that raised more questions. "We should try calling him again," Aiden said. Claire dialed. The phone rang once, then went straight to voicemail. Her shoulders tightened. He always answers. Always. Aiden didn't know what to say. He just stayed beside her, steady and present. A soft creak from upstairs made Claire spin around. Aiden tensed. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "Did you hear that?" He nodded. "Yeah." They both stared toward the staircase. Nothing moved. The house was silent again. Claire gripped the note in her hand. "I don't want to be scared in my own home," she said quietly. "But right now, I am." Aiden stepped closer. "You're not alone. Whatever's going on, we'll face it together." Another creak. A little louder this time. Claire's eyes met his. Fear mixed with something else. Something unsteady but trusting. "I think someone's upstairs," she whispered. Aiden felt a chill run down his back. He didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the sound had been too clear to brush off. He took a slow breath. "We need to know what's happening." Claire swallowed hard. "I'm not sure I'm ready to find out." Aiden met her gaze. "But we can't ignore it." She nodded, though her hands shook. As they both turned toward the staircase, the house felt heavier, as if holding its own breath. And then another soft sound drifted down, like a quiet step on old wood. Aiden glanced at Claire. She looked back, eyes wide, heart racing. Neither of them knew what or who was waiting above them. Aiden stood still at the foot of the stairs, listening for any hint of movement. The house held a thick, uneasy quiet, broken only by the faint hum of the flickering light in the hallway. Claire stayed close beside him, her breathing tight and uneven. For a moment, no one moved. Then another soft thump echoed from above, not loud, but unmistakably real. Claire's fingers tightened around the note in her hand. "Aiden," she whispered, "I don't know if I can go up there." He looked at her gently. "You don't have to go alone. I'm right here." She nodded, though fear trembled across her face. Her brother had left a strange message, vanished from sight, and now unexplained sounds drifted through the house. Every piece felt wrong. Aiden placed a steady hand on the railing. "Let's take it slow." Claire hesitated for a heartbeat, then mirrored his movement. Together, they stepped onto the first stair. The creak beneath their feet felt louder than it should have. The air grew cooler as they climbed. Halfway up, Claire whispered, "What if something happened to him?" Aiden didn't answer right away. He didn't want to assume the worst. "We'll find out soon," he said softly. "Whatever's going on, we'll deal with it." At the top of the stairs, a narrow hallway stretched out. 3 doors, one slightly ajar. Claire pointed with a shaking hand. "That's his room!" Aiden felt tension coil in his chest. He approached first, pausing just before the doorway. He knocked gently, even though it felt strange to do so. No response. He pushed the door open another inch. Claire whispered behind him, "Is he in there?" Aiden stepped inside slowly. The room was dim, the curtains drawn. A small lamp on the nightstand glowed faintly, barely enough to light the space. But the room wasn't empty. A pile of clothes lay scattered across the bed, a backpack on the floor, unzipped, a jacket draped over the chair. It looked like someone had been packing quickly, or leaving quickly. Aiden moved farther in, scanning the room. "No one's here," he said. Claire stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with worry. He didn't take his wallet or his keys. She pointed to the dresser where familiar items sat untouched. Aiden frowned. "That doesn't make sense." She stepped inside, her gaze darting across the room as if searching for something she hoped yet feared to find. What is he doing? Why would he leave without his things? Before Aiden could answer, a faint noise came from the closet. A soft shift. A scrape of wood against carpet. Claire gasped quietly. Aiden raised a hand, silently asking her to stay back. He walked toward the closet, heart pounding but step steady. Each footstep felt heavier than the last. When he reached the closet door, he paused, listening closely. Nothing. He opened it slowly. The space was dark and cramped. Shoes lined the floor. A few shirts hung neatly, but at first glance, it looked empty. Then Aiden noticed something on the shelf, a small envelope, identical to the one downstairs. "It's another note." Claire stepped beside him. "Another one? Why would he hide it here?" Aiden handed it to her gently. "Maybe it explains more." Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper folded twice. She unfolded it slowly. Her eyes moved across the words, and Aiden watched her expression shift from confusion to disbelief. "Aiden," she whispered, "he wants me to go somewhere." "Where?" Aiden asked. She handed him the note. "Claire, I need you to come to the cabin. It's important. I didn't want to say it in person because I wasn't sure how to explain. Please trust me. I'll be there when you arrive." Aiden inhaled deeply. "The cabin? The one your family owns near the lake?" She nodded, her voice thin. "We haven't been there in years." A chill ran down Aiden's spine. What would he be doing there at night? Claire held her arms close to her chest. "He wouldn't go there for no reason, especially without telling me anything." Aiden handed the note back to her. It might be the only place to find him. She looked around the room again, as if searching for clues in the shadows. Everything felt off, too quiet, too abandoned, too sudden. "I don't know what to do," she murmured. "My brother never keeps secrets from me, not like this." "I'll drive you," his voice steady. "I'll drive you. You shouldn't go alone." Claire looked up, her eyes filled with fear and gratitude all at once. "You'd really come with me?" "Of course," he said. "You shouldn't face this without someone you trust." The hallway lights flickered again, casting long shadows across the room. Claire flinched at the sudden movement of light. Aiden reached out without thinking, placing a calming hand on her arm. "We'll figure it out," he said softly. But just as he spoke, another sound echoed through the house. This time, it didn't come from upstairs. It came from downstairs. A low, muffled thud. Claire's breath hitched. Aiden turned toward the hallway, tense and alert. Someone, or something, was not done making noise. Aiden looked at Claire, quietly asking the question neither wanted to voice. Was someone else in the house? Before he could say a word, Claire whispered, barely audible. Aiden, we're not alone. Aiden didn't move at first. The thud from downstairs lingered in the air like an echo that refused to fade. Claire stood frozen beside him, her fingers gripping the edge of her brother's note as if it were the only solid thing in the room. The house fell silent again. A silence too deep to feel normal. Aiden stepped into the hallway, listening carefully. Claire stayed close, almost instinctively, as though distance made everything feel more dangerous. Another soft noise drifted up. This time a faint shuffle. Not loud, not hurried, but unmistakable. Aiden looked at her gently. We should go downstairs, carefully. Claire swallowed hard. Do you think it's him? Aiden didn't want to give her false hope. I don't know, he said softly, but we need to check. They moved down the hallway together. Every step felt like it carried weight. The flickering light overhead buzzed, blinking on and off like it couldn't decide whether to hold steady or give out entirely. At the top of the stairs, Aiden paused. He looked over his shoulder at Claire. Stay close behind me, he whispered. She gave a tense nod. They descended slowly, each creak of the staircase sounding louder than the last. Halfway down, the house settled into an uneasy stillness again. When they reached the bottom, something immediately felt different. The front door was slightly ajar. Claire grabbed Aiden's sleeve. That door was shut, she whispered. We closed it. Aiden nodded, feeling his pulse spike. Yes, we did. He examined the entryway, but nothing seemed out of place. No footprints, no sign of a forced entry. Just a door that should not have been open. Do you think he came back? Aiden wasn't sure. Every instinct told him something was wrong. Before he could answer, the faint sound of movement came from the kitchen. A slow, dragging sound. Like someone shifting something across the floor. Claire's breath caught. Aiden motioned for her to stay behind him, then stepped quietly toward the kitchen. The room was dim. Only the small under-cabinet light above the counter was on, casting a soft glow across the tile floor. Aiden glanced around. No broken dishes, no open drawers, nothing unusual. But then he noticed the back door. Unlocked. The curtain beside it swayed gently, as if someone had brushed past it moments ago. Claire stepped into the doorway behind him. Her voice broke in a whisper. He was here. Someone was here. Aiden scanned the ground near the back door. A faint, dusty footprint smudged the tile, too vague to identify, but definitely fresh. He didn't want to scare you, Aiden said quietly. Whoever it was, they didn't come at us. They left. Claire didn't look reassured. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her arms close to her chest. Aiden, why would my brother do this? Why wouldn't he just call me? Aiden turned toward her. Maybe he's dealing with something he doesn't want to put on you, something he thinks he needs to explain in person. Claire's eyes softened, but fear still clung to her expression. He knows I worry. He knows I'd follow him anywhere if he needed me. So why hide? Why send strange notes? Why leave without speaking to me? I don't know, but whatever he's facing, he clearly wants you to find him. The cabin might be the only answer. Claire looked around the empty kitchen as if expecting something else to happen. But the house was quiet again. Too quiet. We should go, she whispered. Now. Aiden nodded. Let's pack what you need. We'll drive straight to the cabin. She nodded again, steadier this time. She clung to action because stillness made everything feel worse. They headed toward the front door. Claire grabbed her jacket from the hook, then stopped in the middle of the hallway. "Aiden," she breathed, "look." On the floor near the doorway lay another envelope. Fresh. Unopened. Her name scrawled across the front in the same handwriting. Claire's heart dropped. He was here again. He had to be. This wasn't on the floor before. Aiden reached down and picked it up carefully, handing it to her. "You should open it." Her fingers shook as she tore it open. A single line covered the small slip of paper inside. "Claire, please come now. Don't wait." No explanation. No signature. But it was enough to make her chest tighten with fear and urgency. Aiden's jaw tensed. "He's pushing you toward the cabin." Claire nodded slowly. "It feels like he's scared of something, like he's rushing because he doesn't have time." She held the note close to her chest. "I can't lose him, Aiden." Aiden met her gaze, steady and certain. "You won't. We'll find him." But just as he spoke, another sound echoed from outside. A faint rustle near the porch, then a soft tap against the window. Claire's breath hitched. Aiden turned toward the sound, every muscle tense. Someone was out there. Or something was deliberately trying to get their attention. The night, which felt heavy before, now carried something sharper, something urgent. Aiden looked at Claire, protective and focused. "Stay behind me." The tapping came again, a little louder this time. Claire whispered, "Aiden, what if it's him?" Aiden wasn't sure, but he moved toward the window, bracing himself for whatever waited on the other side of the glass. Aiden approached the window slowly. The tapping had stopped, but the air outside felt alive with tension. Claire stood a few steps behind him, clutching the newest note in her hand. He reached for the edge of the curtain. For a moment, he froze, listening. Nothing moved. The porch was silent. He pulled the curtain back. At first, he didn't see anything. Just the empty porch, the soft glow of the street lamp, and the quiet stretch of the neighborhood. But then he noticed something near the railing. A small flashlight. Still warm. Still turned on. He opened the door and stepped outside, motioning for Claire to stay inside until he checked. He picked up the flashlight, running his thumb across its warm metal casing. "It was just dropped," he murmured. Claire stepped onto the porch despite his warning. She stared at the flashlight, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's his. My brother never goes anywhere without it." Aiden looked at her gently. "Then he was here seconds ago." Claire's throat tightened. "Why didn't he knock? Why didn't he come inside?" "I think he didn't want to scare you more." She hugged her arms tightly. "This is scaring me more." Aiden stepped closer. "We'll get answers at the cabin." She hesitated, then nodded. They headed to Aiden's car. The night air felt heavy, as if carrying something unspoken. Aiden opened the passenger door for her. "Are you sure you're ready?" he asked softly. Claire swallowed hard. "No, but I have to go." He nodded and got behind the wheel. The engine hummed to life, and they pulled away from the house. The drive toward the lake took nearly an hour. The deeper they went into the woods, the darker the road became. The headlights carved small paths through the trees, their shadows stretching long across the ground. Claire stared out the window, her voice quiet. "My brother has never asked me for help like this. Not once. He always tries to protect me, even when we were kids." Aiden glanced at her. "That means this must be important." She nodded. I just hope he's safe. They reached the gravel road that led to the family cabin. The trees formed a thick canopy overhead, blocking out most of the moonlight. The cabin stood ahead, small and dark, except for one faint light glowing from inside. Aiden parked the car and turned to her. "We'll take this slow." Claire took a shaky breath and opened her door. The night air here felt colder, sharper. The smell of pine hung heavy. As they approached the cabin, Claire froze. The front door was cracked open, not wide, just enough to show someone hadn't closed it all the way. Aiden whispered, "Claire, stay right behind me." But Claire stepped forward first. "Michael?" she called softly. Her voice carried into the cabin. No reply. Aiden pushed the door open gently. The small living room looked untouched. A lamp glowed on a side table. A blanket lay neatly folded on the couch. Nothing seemed out of place, yet the air still felt strange. Claire moved toward the center of the room, her voice trembling. "Michael, are you here?" Aiden walked ahead, checking each corner quietly. Then Claire stopped suddenly. On the coffee table was another note. Her breath caught. Aiden returned to her side immediately. "What is it?" She pointed at the envelope. Her name. Same handwriting. Same style. With trembling hands, Claire opened it. Aiden stayed close, watching her eyes as they read the words. Her expression softened. Then it broke into something breathless, relief, confusion, overwhelm, all at once. "Aiden," she whispered, "he's okay." Aiden felt a weight lift from his chest. "What does it say?" Claire handed him the note. "I'm sorry for scaring you. I needed time to think. I needed to be somewhere quiet. I didn't have the courage to say things face to face. I'm not in danger. I'm not hurt. I'll explain everything when I'm ready. Just know I'm safe. Please don't worry." Aiden exhaled slowly. "That's good, Claire. That's good news." She shook her head slightly, tears forming. "You don't understand. He says there's something he needs to tell me, something he wasn't ready to say in person." Aiden placed a gentle hand on her back. "Whatever it is, he wanted you to know he's safe first." Claire sank onto the couch, clutching the note to her chest. "He's okay," she whispered again, as if repeating it made it more real. Aiden sat beside her, giving her space but staying close. "You've been carrying fear all night. It's all right to breathe now." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "You stayed with me through all of this. You didn't have to." Aiden looked at her softly. "I wanted to." Claire met his gaze. For the first time that night, her shoulders relaxed. A fragile calm settled between them. "I don't know what he needs to tell me," she said quietly. "But I'm grateful I didn't have to face this alone." Aiden gave a small, warm smile. "And you're not alone. Not now. Not after tonight." The lamplight flickered gently in the quiet room. The fear that once filled every corner of the night slowly faded, replaced by something calmer, something hopeful. Outside, the woods stood silent, carrying the weight of everything they had faced together. But inside the cabin, for the first time that night, Claire felt safe. And Aiden knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, he wasn't going anywhere.